Hello, everybody. Rob Cootie here. I have the MLM Solution. Maria and I are here, and we're ready to start at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, today's subject is a good one: the elf on the shelf. If you don't, I know everybody knows what an elf on the shelf is, but how does that apply to network marketing? Well, you're going to find out in today's episode. You want to stay tuned and watch our episode today as we explain what this means and how it affects your business. It should be a fun and entertaining show today, so please share our show with our fellow network marketers all across the globe. You can do that by utilizing hashtag TheMLM Solution. You can see it there in the ticker, hashtag TheMLM Solution. Please share our various social media platforms, especially our YouTube channel and our Facebook page where we stream live each and every day at 11 a.m. And we're coming up on that, so I'm going to hop off of here and we'll see you in a few seconds.
Welcome to the MLM Solution Podcast Show, where you'll learn the facts and hear the truth about the network marketing industry. Here's your host, Rob Cootie.
Hello, Miss Marie. How are you today?
Good morning, Rob. I am doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. How's the weather out there?
Well, I am in Texas, so we are looking at a high of 80 degrees today. Can't complain about that.
Well, that's awesome. We're going to get up in the 50s today, which is a celebratory moment because we've been in the 30s the last 2 days. So
there you go. You get some warm weather too.
Exactly. Thanks for sending it this way. And I told the wife, I said, if it's going to be dark, gloomy, and cold, why didn't it frickin' snow? So I've been sending messages to God, and he hasn't answered yet. But I'm telling him the same thing. What in the world's going on? Why are you not sending snow? If we're going to have to be in dark gray skies and cold, why not entertain us?
You're looking for a white Christmas, I take it.
I always look for a white Christmas. I love snow for the first 2 hours.
For the first 2 hours, yeah. Well, I love snow when I don't have to shovel it. So There's that.
Yeah. Which is totally opposite of the way I was as a kid. And I still enjoy it. Don't get me. One of the greatest joys of my life is to sit in the dark, believe it or not, with the Christmas tree in the front room with the windows open, sipping coffee, watching the snow fall. So there you go.
Yeah, that sounds very festive. That sounds like a good holiday tradition.
It's one of my favorite things to do for myself, in peace and quiet with the animals in my lap. Sometimes I'll sit on the front porch, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, if it's not too cold or you bundle up enough, why not?
I bundle up. Yep. Yeah. And in North Dakota, my ex-fiance, who was from Mexico City, believe it or not, I love North Dakota. And I can only tell you the type of winters we used to get up there. You've been from Wisconsin. You totally get it.
Oh, that's chilly. You can't bundle up enough for those.
No. I've seen snow do things I never thought snow could do in that environment. So with that being said, today is an interesting thing. I've been promoting it, the Elf on the Shelf. Miss Marie, you're going to have to set us up like you did yesterday. It's an entertaining subject matter, and people are probably saying, what in the world has this got to do with network marketing? This is a holiday thing, not a network marketing thing. So off you go. Miss Marie's going to set the stage, and we'll go from there.
Well, I can take just about anything and turn it into a network marketing thing because I've been involved in the industry for so long. And I wanted to have a little bit of fun since we have the holidays coming up. Many people are familiar with the Elf on the Shelf. Some may not be because it's actually a relatively new tradition. Did you know that it's actually a 21st century tradition?
No, I did not.
It is based on a children's picture book that came out in 2005, written by, I believe her name is Carol Abersol. I might be pronouncing that not correctly, so don't quote me on that. But she wrote this picture book along with her daughter to explain how Santa comes up and keeps his list of children who are naughty and nice. Because, of course, we have the Christmas carols, and kids have always heard that, Santa keeps his list. He knows who's naughty and he knows who's nice. Well, how does he do that? Well, this story, The Elf on the Shelf, basically explains that he has scout elves that go out and visit children's homes. So the tradition started based on this book, that there's a scout elf that you place on a shelf. And the rules of the game are basically that elf is watching the children to make sure they're being nice and not naughty, so that they get their Christmas presents from Santa come Christmas time. So it's a little bit of that, we have that tradition of the angel, the good angel on one shoulder and the bad angel on the other one, and you have to decide which one you're going to listen to. Well, the elf on the shelf is keeping an eye on the kids to make sure they're nice and not naughty, that they're behaving and sharing with their siblings and those types of things. And the rules are basically there he is, the elf on the shelf. The elf doesn't talk, he doesn't move, he's not to be touched. But oddly enough, the elf may end up moving during the night to a different place in the house to keep an eye on the children. And sometimes you just don't know where he's going to show up. So it's kind of a fun little tradition. And I know several families that participate in it. As a matter of fact, I have a good friend of mine. She posts different pictures throughout the Christmas season. It usually, depending on families' traditions, they'll start it sometime after Thanksgiving, maybe the beginning of December, up until about Christmas Eve. And then the elf on the shelf goes away until next year. But like I was going to say, I have a friend, she'll post pictures on Facebook of her elf on the shelf and all the clever places where he's been hiding. And of course, being 2020, the elf on the shelf this year is wearing a mask. We don't want to be spreading the virus, apparently, even at the North Pole. So it cracks me up. And it got me to thinking, it's an interesting time of year in network marketing and just businesses in general. Anybody that has their own business, and even in our personal life, we're coming up on the end of the year, people start thinking about being reflective, the things that have gone well and not so well during the year. So that's where I'm bringing in the elf on the shelf concept is, look at it in terms of your business. If you had an elf on the shelf that was kind of supervising you or keeping an eye on you during this past year while you were building your business, what would that elf be reporting come Christmas time? Was it a good year? Was it a bad year? What were some of the things that the elf on the shelf would have seen that were done well versus the areas where maybe you need some improvement? Mm-hmm. And when it comes to business, we talk all the time about consistent and correct business building activities. So you can simply start there with that phrase. From the elf on the shelf's perspective, were you consistent in your business throughout the year? Were you leading by example and building your business consistently throughout the year? Were you doing those correct business building activities? Were you spending your time productively in building your business, or were you going off into the weeds maybe and, I don't know, reorganizing your office or sorting the pens on your desk? And I say these things jokingly, but at the same time, I have been guilty of those things in the past too. It's just one of those things, because sometimes you're just not feeling quite as motivated. And, just your business building activities. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to confess, I'm nowhere near perfect, nowhere near. But, those business building activities you've been working toward throughout the year, a lot of us do New Year's resolutions, or we set goals at the beginning of the year. And at the beginning of 2020, granted, this year went off the rails like no other I've ever seen. So things have changed drastically, but were you able to move toward your goals that you set at the beginning of 2020? Now that we're coming to the end, if you're looking back, would the elf on the shelf see that you've made progress towards those goals? Or did we fall short in several places? And maybe evaluate why we fell short, why we didn't achieve some of the goals that we did. And obviously there are a lot of external things that went on this year in terms of the virus, and in the United States, some of the political tensions and things that were going on, upheaval in various cities around the country with riots and looting and those types of things. So there are always external things that impact us. But then also considering, from the elf on the shelf's perspective, how did we deal personally with some of those stressors and events that went on? Did we find ourselves, glued to the TV watching events that we have absolutely no control over? Or did we focus on aspects of our business where we actually do have control, can make a positive impact? And not even just in our business, but other aspects of our personal life as well. So just the whole concept of the elf on the shelf, it's a cute tradition. I think it's a lot of fun. A lot of families participate in it. For those of you who may not have heard of it before, it's one of those easy things you can Google, you can find the rules, you can buy the book. It's just a fascinating, fun thing to do with kids. But I wanted to tie that into our network marketing business because, again, we're kind of in that holiday season. So making our broadcast a little more festive.
Well, and I'm glad that you did, and that was a great description of how the elf on the shelf applies to network marketing. Guys, what she's talking about in a nutshell, if I'm get off base, let me know, Miss Marie. And by the way, my granddaughters grew up with Elf on the Shelf, so I'm very familiar with it. I did not know the backstory, so thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. And I know that you had something to do with that lawsuit to the Supreme Court in Texas, so thank you very much for that as well. That's the reason why they did it, because you were there and trying to save our country. Kudos to you. So the thing is, guys, what she's talking about is that if you could set the elf on the shelf up here in the background while the elf is watching you to see if you're being a good boy, good girl, bad girl, whatever. The thing is that are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? That is in essence what you're saying. Is that correct? And having a watch dog, if you will, monitoring, and the little elf on the shelf can move around. So you never know where he's going to be or where she's going to be and what they're going to see. So it's a way of holding yourself accountable. A cute little way to incorporate Christmas into your business building process. I think that's a great idea. I think it's an intriguing idea. I think it's something that can add a festive atmosphere to your business building process in this tough business building month, as we have talked about over the last 2 days. December, well, really from Thanksgiving on to New Year's, can be one of the most challenging times in the business building process for any network marketer, whether you're a veteran or not. I can tell you from past experience, not only from myself, but the other professional business builders I've been around, that we all face, which was both shocking and comforting to me, Miss Marie, because I thought, these professional business builders could overcome anything, that they didn't have problems. And if they did, they were minuscule compared to mine. And to come to find out that they faced the same monumental challenges that we all did in the months or this time of year, was very reassuring on one hand and eye-opening on the other. I don't know if you experienced that, but I certainly did.
Well, yeah, I think it's one of the interesting aspects of working in the network marketing industry. It's a very level playing field. Everybody's working with, when you're in a company, the same products, the same compensation plan, you're on the same date on the calendar, you have the same number of hours in the day to work with. It's, we did an episode, I think, called, Network Marketing is the Great Equalizer. So you can go back and dive into a little bit of detail on that too. But here's one aspect of the elf on the shelf idea that I really like is when it comes to evaluating your own performance in your own business. Again, you're building your own business, so you don't have a boss, you don't have a supervisor, you don't even necessarily have someone you interact with on a daily basis that can see what you're doing. I mean, in the corporate world, when you start a job, you get evaluated on a fairly regular basis, usually at the end of your first 90 days, and then maybe a 6-month, and then at the very least an annual evaluation, right? So coming to the end of the year, it's a good time to kind of do that annual evaluation. But as an independent contractor, a business owner working from home, especially this year, for the most part, probably working alone, how do you evaluate yourself? Because it's one of those things where, you're passionate about the business you're involved in. You are very motivated by your family, whatever your goals are in terms of achieving an income level, time freedom, a change in your lifestyle, all those things that are driving you towards your goals. We get very invested in our own stuff. So the idea of taking the elf on the shelf is to help you take an objective perspective from another point of view. And in this case, I mean, just kind of creating this fictional character, the elf on the shelf. If you had this elf on the shelf watching you, what would he have seen during this year? How would he rate your performance? So again, it's a self-evaluation, but it's creating kind of an objective aspect to it to help you evaluate yourself, but kind of taking a step back from yourself. Does that make sense, Rob?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And guys, what we want to do is get across to you that use any tactic you can to hold yourself responsible to yourself. I think this is a great little way. Some people will see real value in doing something like this, but you got to self-check. And being a self-checking yourself can be such a challenge because we can cheat. We all do. As Miss Marie has stated, we all are guilty of, today, I don't know. Or, I woke up this morning not in a very good mood, which is unusual for me because I'm pretty steady. But I have high expectations and I can look forward in my day and I can see where the time crunches are going to be because I know what I have to do. And sometimes if I don't get a good night's sleep, I can get up on the wrong side of the bed. And that's not always a good way to start my day. But the point is that I hold myself responsible only out of habit. But when I first started doing stuff, because you got to realize, Miss Marie, I went in the military at 17 years old and I was told what to do and where to go. The motivation was I was going to get my ass in trouble. You can go to jail for not performing your duties in the military. So there was a lot of motivation for me to do the right thing. As I grew and matured, obviously, I understood and became more responsible, did not need that monitoring, right? So that's kind of ingrained in me. But there are days, because I'm human, like this morning, I was not motivated, and I had to force myself to get in the mood and get in the groove because I had things I had to do. And that added to my frustration. And the little elf on the shelf would have been a great way to add some festivity, if you want to use an atmosphere or festive atmosphere, to that to-do list is the best way I could put it. My things I had to get done today. Because we don't have somebody like yourself or me to look over our shoulder. Guys, if you have a spouse, if you have a trusted business partner, if you have a trusted upline or sponsor, and you need that monitoring, to look at yourself and be honest with yourself and say, you may even be a very organized person, but now you're adding an additional thing to your life. And this can be hard, especially if you're afraid of the next step, which is contacting and talking to people. If you have somebody that you can be accountable to, and as silly as it sounds, even the elf on the shelf, because Miss Maria, I could see, for me personally, looking up on this screen and seeing that elf on the shelf sitting back there, and you know what it would remind me of? Why it's there. And that is what? To be accountable. So can it work? Yes, it can. And if that's something that simple can help you do what you don't want to do, use it, guys. Even if it's not the elf on the shelf, if you want to have your spouse sitting there with a ruler that'll smack you over the head and you can see them standing behind you or sitting behind you, whatever it takes to get you in the groove, it will become habit and you won't need them with that ruler smacking you over the head. And so also I want to say this, Miss Marie, for all of you that are on the video, if you see me doing things during the show, it's because I see things happening and I'm trying to do some things that as the show goes along, we can do what we need to do.
Well, and it's all about the aspect of accountability, right?
Yes.
I mean, the easiest person to lie to is yourself.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, but it's also the most dangerous, right? Because you can get yourself into a rut that is really difficult to get out of. I mean, you can go to bed at night going, okay, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to hit the ground running, and I'm going to make 10 contacts with prospects before noon.
Mm-hmm.
And that alarm goes off and it's hard to wake up. Maybe you didn't sleep well, whatever it is, and you hit the snooze button, or you just even turn the alarm off, and it's just like, I'll do it tomorrow. So having some form of accountability in your business is key. And a lot of people are much more motivated by an external commitment than they are the internal commitment. So that's the idea of the elf on the shelf. If you have a spouse or roommate, that could work. I mean, shoot, Rob has, his puppy there, Luke, or his kitty, Phoebe. I mean, make the commitment to your pet. It's like, Phoebe, I'm making, 10 contacts before lunch today. And
there you go. Yeah.
The cat will look at you sideways if you lie to her. So
I know. Yes. She was climbing in bed with me last night, and that's so irritating. It's hard for me to go to sleep when she's climbing on top of me all the time. But anyway, you're absolutely right. And you know what the biggest motivator for me, Miss Marie, was this. I did not want to go to my grave. I'll never forget. Randy Schroeder told me, I said, well, we were just talking, like you and I do before the show sometimes after the show. And we would just have a guy-to-guy talk, and I forgot how the subject came up. And he said, Rob, I never wanted to look my family in the eye and tell them we couldn't afford to do something. Everybody finds a reason. Okay. But he loved his family so much that he wanted to provide for them everything that he possibly could. And he never used the word material things, but life experiences is what it boiled down to. He never said, I wanted them to have the car they always wanted to have. He really didn't spoil his kid. He had a high lifestyle, but to him, it wasn't an abnormal lifestyle. A lot of people have boats. Well, he had a boat. A lot of people had multiple cars. Well, he had multiple cars. A lot of people, he wanted to live in a nice neighborhood. Well, a lot of people want to live in a nice neighborhood. He put himself in a position where he could afford to do the things for his family that he knew were important to them. But that one sentence was his motivating factor. And being that he was an extreme type A personality, it just went hand in hand and worked beautifully for him. And I was in the same situation. Here's what mine was, which bled into the family situation. Mine was this. I did not want to go to my grave not utilizing my talents to their utmost. And that really bothered me. And the reason it did, without going down a story, that it is relevant, and you'll see why here in a moment, guys. When I was younger, and I've touched on this before, I believe. If I have, forgive me. I don't want to rehash the same old stories. But for the new people that have not heard the story, this is it. The reason I got this motivation, this internal mechanism, this internal motor that motivates me to this day is this. I was extremely talented in sports, especially football and basketball. There wasn't really a sport, Miss Marie, outside of baseball that I couldn't master. If you asked me to dance to go out and dance on the dance floor, I had 2 left feet. I was the most uncoordinated. I was the one that helped make America's Funniest Videos. Okay. I mean, I was just horrible, no rhythm, nothing, but you put a ball in my hands and I became a magician. And, even my family members were amazed at the transformation, how elegant and how powerful and how fluid I was as an athlete. And I never allowed myself to find out just how good I was. I was good, and I knew I was good, but how far could that talent take me? And I was a unique talent with power and speed and touch, which you don't find very often. And I had the work ethic. I'd outwork anybody. Now, this is not bragging. I'm setting the stage for the point. Because of my attitude, I did not allow myself to find out just how good I was. Was I good enough to be a Division I player, a Division II player, a Division III? Was I good enough to be going to be a semi-pro, or was I good enough to be a pro? I don't know, because I didn't allow myself to find out. Why? Because of my attitude. Okay, and I'm not going to get into that. I accept full responsibility for that, because that is absolutely correct. My attitude kept me in check. Okay. Now, what bothers me about that? Well, because as I look back over my life, I realized I cheated myself out of a potentially totally different life and made life much harder on myself because of my attitude. And I did not allow my talents to be utilized to their utmost. So, realizing that, I never wanted that to happen again. So that's been my motivation, my little shelf on the that's my little elf on the shelf, and it's always there in everything I do. Am I using my talents to the utmost? And so that is what, to this day, Miss Marie, drives me, which bleeds over into giving my family the ability to live a life that otherwise we may not have been able to live. Okay. But that'd be one of my biggest regrets. We all have regrets. So you see how I use my little shelf on the, I did it again.
It sounds like you want to kill your elf by putting the shelf on the elf.
There it goes. All right. So that's my little elf on the shelf situation and story. Maybe you have a similar story. It doesn't matter. Miss Marie shared with you hers. And guess what? Maybe you have your own, and maybe this will help you clarify your little elf on the shelf moment and reason. Right, Miss Marie?
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's about that aspect of accountability, having something outside of yourself to kind of make that commitment to help you follow through on what you're wanting to do. Because like I said, it's so easy to lie to ourselves, but it's also so dangerous. You want to avoid that as much as possible. Keep your commitments to yourself the same way you would to anyone else. That's why we talk about things like blocking off time on your calendar to actually do the business, doing those consistent and correct business building activities, picking up that phone, even though it may feel like a 50-pound weight, executing on your plans and following through. It's so important. And once you get that momentum going, you get into the habit of doing something on a regular basis, it becomes that much easier. But actually, getting started, getting through those first few days, the first couple weeks, it can be hard, and especially if you're just coming into the industry and you're just getting started, because you feel like there's so many unknowns. Each step is a little bit fuzzy, foggy, into the dark. You're not sure exactly how it's going to work. You just have to do it, and you do the learn as you go. So,
yeah. And that's the thing, like anything. And sometimes I hear us talk and I think, gosh, that's so basic. It's such a rudimentary statement, but you got to say it over and over. And here's why: because people get so caught up in their daily lives that they forget the basics. And we all have to be reminded sometimes that the basics are what makes things work. And what you're saying a moment ago is so true. And it's a basic that people it can go right over their head. And what it was is this: repetition. Do it over and over. You'll get better at it. You'll get used to it. It'll become easier. And believe it or not, you'll actually start to enjoy the business building process. And you think, oh my gosh, I could never imagine that. I know, I agree. I've been there myself. I totally understand where you're coming from, but it does. And that's what Miss Marie is touching on, is like, hey, you know what? Just keep it up. Yes, it's going to be tough in the beginning. Yes, it's going to scare you to death, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? It will get easier and you will actually start to enjoy it. Another sports story, Miss Marie, and it's not, time for me to shine here, but I have so many sports stories, and the thing about sports, they're great teachers of life in general. But just let me say this, guys. Another sports story I'll never forget, when I first went out on the field, and I had practice in private for hundreds of hours, and I mean that literally. I cannot tell you, I played in the snow, I played in the rain by myself. I played in the heat. The thing is that I was so dedicated. When I wanted to be good, I wanted to be out there with the people that were considered the best to see how I stacked up. Well, the thing is that it's one thing to play by yourself, because in your head you can beat anybody, but when you get out there on the court or the field, it becomes a totally different ball game, because other people are just as dedicated and work just as hard in private, and they're ready to showcase their talents and etc. So with that being said, you have to realize that when I first stepped out on the field, I was so nervous, Miss Marie. I made such a fool of myself, and I was horrible. And it was so discouraging. I thought to myself, am I really this bad? Do I need to give this up? Because it was horrible experience. And I don't know if you can relate, Miss Marie. I know you're an athletic woman. There's not much you won't do. And you'll get out and with the best of them, hiking and everything else. So, but I remember, because I was so scared I was going to make a fool of myself, which I did, in front of crowds. And if I had allowed those moments to overwhelm me, then guess what? I wouldn't have had all the wonderful experiences that I had as an athlete.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just about perspective, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, they always say, the majority of games, competitions, whatever, they're won and lost in those 12 inches between your ears.
That's right. Before you step on the field, you've either won or lost the game.
Yep. A lot of it is perspective. I remember when I first started out playing sports, and even as a kid, having the opposing side cheering or jeering against you, whatever the case may be, it just, the first couple times, it just impacted me so badly. It's like, oh my gosh, made me nervous, whatever.
These people hate me.
Exactly. It's like, wow, what did I ever do to them? But, the change I made was I started, whenever there was a bunch of noise coming from the other side, in my mind, I was just like, oh, listen to them cheering for me. Awesome. So, sometimes you just need that change in perspective, that little bit of a different outlook on how things are going.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the point of our conversation, guys, is this: don't have your own elf on the shelf. That's what we're really trying to say in our own roundabout way. We're not beating around the bush. What we're doing is giving you many examples of a very basic theme in sports, and that is, don't defeat yourself before you ever step on the field or the court. You know what? Get out there, and guess what? Through repetition, you're going to get better and better and better. And the great thing is that we teach the basics. And as we told you, if you master the basics that we teach you, we've told you the Michael Jordan story when he was at the University of North Carolina, and what Dean Smith used to tell him every summer when the basketball season was over, because he knew that Michael was so gifted that if Michael just mastered the basics, then he had a chance to be something special. And of course, we all know the rest of the story, but Michael was a willing student. Not only was he willing to work, but he was willing to listen, and he did what Coach Smith told him to do. So that's what we're telling you. I'm not saying that we're Coach Smith, but what I'm saying is that we're telling you, master the basics. Get your head away from all the other stuff that you're hearing, and get yourself in tune with the basics, so that you can apply your talents, your abilities, your uniqueness as a human being to those basics. And there's no telling how far you can go. Right, Miss Marie?
Oh, absolutely. And again, the perspective of the elf on the shelf in this case is like, view it as somebody that's on your side, wants you to be accountable, wants you to be successful, in
Yeah,
your corner, cheering for you. This is not to be seen as something that's going to nitpick everything you're doing wrong and crack you on the knuckles when you don't, make
yeah,
those 10 calls before noon or whatever the commitment is that you failed to live up to. But see it as a different objective viewpoint of
mm,
how your business is going to help you grow and help you succeed. It's to work with you and for you, most certainly not against you. And just like we are, that's why we're here. We are in your corner. Part of the reason we do this podcast is because we want you to succeed at your business to the highest level you
right.
are capable of. And that's part of the reason a lot of the things you hear here, you're not going to hear anywhere else. We're talking about topics that are important for your business, important for your growth, that you're not going to hear anywhere else. If anyone else is out there recommending an elf on the shelf, I want to hear about it. But
That's right.
but along those lines, some of the things that we're offering in terms of the information we have available, be sure to check out our website, TheMLM-solution.net.
Mhm,
Right now, we have free gifts available there, 3 really important and impactful informational packages for you, 4 critical mistakes that most network marketers make and how to avoid them, the 5 simple steps to success, and then we have Zero to Network Marketing Hero. All of those PDF, audio, video,
yep.
grab those absolutely free of charge right now. I'm
Mhm,
not sure how long that's going to last because there's tremendous value in these products, especially that 4 critical mistakes. That's probably my favorite one because learn from other people's mistakes. It is such a time saver. We've
yeah,
captured some information there that, should you choose to avoid it, you can get on that path to success so much quicker and achieve your goals so much faster than if you fall into these little pitfalls that we've already done for you. So we tell you how to avoid them.
there you go. Absolutely. And guys, you have to realize that these are the basics. This is the reason I put this up on the screens, because we're harping on what? The basics. Apply your unique talents, abilities, skills, mindset to what? The basics. Well, guess what? These 4 critical mistakes, believe it or not, when you read them, they are 4 basic mistakes people make. But most people have no clue that they're making them. And those mistakes are eating away at the success that they're trying to build. And they don't even understand that what's happening to their business. And the 5 simple steps to networking success, we talk about all the time. They are the essence of the business building process. And so that leads us into what we talk about once again, the basics. We have the Super Friday going on, the Black Friday sale going on until the end of the year. And it's the Super Pack. And that's the reason why we have Super Friday in the URL there on the image, is because it is a combination of having a great Black Friday sale to the end of the year with the Super Pack business building system, which includes what? All the other additional basic things that we talk about. And you say, well, what basic things are you talking about, Rob? Guys, it's the threshold of profitability. Guess what? When we talk about the basics of the business building process, that includes the scale of ambition, the threshold of profitability, the music to their ears message, the getting their first check system that we talk about. I really don't know if you call that a system, Miss Marie, but it's the steps you need to take in order for your people to get their first check, which is absolutely essential in retaining people in your business, to stabilizing your business as it's getting off the ground. That's going to motivate you and excite you, seeing that your business is growing and that you're not losing a lot of people along the way. Why? Because they're making money. Okay. Well, I would say that's a basic premise of this business, right, Miss Marie? We all come in this business to make money, but you'd be amazed at how many leaders cannot tell you how to make that first check or even make it a focus, right, Miss Marie? It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the information we're sharing here is absolutely foundational
That's right.
to the success of your business. If you're not building your business on a solid foundation, you
Mhm.
may have some quick success, but it's going to fall apart pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, we talk about it being basics, and that's not to say it's incredibly simple, although it is simple. It's not necessarily easy, but you want to set those fundamentals, that foundation solid for your business so you can grow it to the absolute,
Mhm.
peak of prosperity that you're really after.
Right. And that's something, guys, that we harp on all the time, almost on every episode, is the basics. So we show you these things because we know that repetition is essential in keeping things fresh in your mind. And that's the reason why you'll see us throw this up here, and because we want that to be in front of you, because we want you to succeed. And we want to make sure, because your mind is already being bombarded with so many things. And without being too aggressive, without being in your face about it, we got to throw up images along with the words, because the words alone are not going to remind you. And for all of you on the podcast, we're putting the images up on the screen only because we know that imagery, along with words, reinforcing that imagery, is going to drive the point home. We're not trying to be in a sales mode here. You can tell that we're not. But the bottom line is we want you to succeed. We want you to exit this year on the best possible positive note and to go into the next year with momentum and with positive progress taking place. You do that by what? Mastering the basics. And guess what? Your elf on the shelf is going to help you master those basics. And that's the reason why we bring it up. It's a cute little twist on holding yourself accountable. And believe it or not, I can see where that could actually work, Miss Marie. I truly do. And I mean that sincerely. Another thing that would work, guys, and bring it up, it may not be an elf on the shelf. I think the elf on the shelf brings cuteness to it. It's a cute little thing to look at. It's a wonderful story about the mom and the daughter. I did not know that. It's great. But here's the thing, Miss Marie. You know what? I also have pictures of my animals and my family here. That is a big motivating factor when I look at those pictures. And you say, well, why do you do that? Well, because when I look at those pictures, what comes to my mind right away? Not only do I hold myself accountable with that sports analogy I gave you, but the thing is that I look at them and I don't want to let them down. So they are my elves on the shelf. They're right here on my desk. So the thing is that maybe that will work for you too. Miss Marie, is there anything that motivates you? You haven't shared that with you. I won't say motivate you, but maybe keeps you focused and helps you get over those moments. Because look, I have those moments to this day. Like I said, this morning, sometimes it's more physical than it is mental, Miss Marie, in today's, for me.
Yep, absolutely. And sometimes, I mean, for me, it's just, well, I'm just going to go this far. It's like, get your butt out of bed in the morning, right? And it's one of those, if you have to set your alarm clock on the other side of the room to force yourself to get your butt out of bed, well, I'm out of bed. I might as well stay up now, right? So, I mean, it's just those incremental steps, whatever it takes to do it. I mean, similar to you, I have pictures of family, friends, people that I have commitments to, that definitely motivate me. I tend to be, because of the sports background and that type of thing, I have a little bit of that competitive nature, so I'm constantly watching, well, what are the achievement levels of other people? Or I'll set myself up in a competition with somebody else. It's like, oh, it seems like we're running kind of on the same track. It's like, well, let's see if I can hit the diamond level before they do.
Yeah. And that's a great, I didn't even think about that. And you're absolutely right. That what a powerful thing to say as we close this out, Ms. Marie. You nailed it. That is an awesome thing. The competition between two people, that could be your elf on a shelf. Obviously we're using the words elf on a shelf as a, I guess you would say, a metaphor. Would that be correct in saying it that way, Miss Marie?
I think so. Just seasonal imagery.
Right. But I mean, it is imagery, because it's going to be a picture of a family, maybe a sports moment like her and I have talked about, whatever moment you use to galvanize yourself, or whatever item you're going to use to once again galvanize yourself on taking action, especially action that you're afraid of. Once again, without rehashing it, and as we close, I'll never forget those moments, Miss Marie, as I stepped on that field. I really did not know that you could be that nervous, if that makes sense. I did not know. I mean, I knew what butterflies were. I didn't know that your knees would get weak, that your legs would shake a little bit, that you'd almost want to throw up. I never thought I, Rob, would have felt those emotions about a sporting event. But that's exactly what happened. And it was hard to overcome. It really threw me for a loop. And I will say, I really didn't feel that way when I first started out in network marketing. I was so excited about the possibilities. I was nervous, there's no doubt, and I had butterflies. I'm not going to lie to you, but not to the level I did going out in front of hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people. And I was like, oh my gosh, but yet, like anything else, once you got out there and you got confident in yourself, Miss Marie, I didn't even hear the people. Didn't even hear. I was so focused on doing what I needed to do on the court, on the field, that the people just faded off. Every once in a while, I'd hear the voices, but it was like I was out there playing by myself. And if you're not an athlete, you won't get that, I guess. But it's like they're not even there, right, Miss Marie?
Yeah, that can happen too. Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that being said, Miss Marie, I think we have had a wonderful, just a little bit festive and funny episode, but yet an important episode about overcoming that first step. The fear of the first step is the best way to put it. That's what I always call it, the fear of the first step. And as I told you guys in a few episodes ago, fear is the great equalizer, taking extraordinary people and making them ordinary. Guys, don't be that. Don't be that. Don't fear that first step, right, Miss Marie?
Absolutely. Take action, get moving. It
Yep.
makes all the difference.
All right, tomorrow's subject is at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, tomorrow's subject, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, New Year's resolutions. Self-explanatory, but I think you're going to be surprised by some of the subject matter that we're going to cover. As always, we surprise you with the subject matter that we talk about, and we take a deep dive into subjects, once again, that nobody else will talk about. And if you will, please share, like, and comment on our various social media platforms. If you will, use hashtag TheMLM-Solution to share with our fellow network marketers across the globe our platform so that they too can have access to this great information. And if you will, go to our YouTube channel and hit the little bell twice to get notifications when we go live and when we upload content. Miss Marie, just to let you know, I was going to tell you this earlier, our views are up 29% and our watch time on our YouTube channel is up 749%.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
So people are paying attention, Miss Marie, and enjoying the content. Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome.
It is. Please give us thumbs up if you like what you hear during the show or after the show, which people are doing on YouTube, Miss Marie. They are giving thumbs up left and right. And please, if you like the comments we're making, if you like the content we're putting out, and you can see where it can help you, the thumbs up, the dancing bears, and the dancing women all make us smile. So with that being said, we're going to hop off of here, guys. We do not want to keep you any longer than we already have. You guys have a blessed day, a great day, and we shall see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as always, with another great episode. You guys have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the MLM Solution Podcast. For more info, visit our website, TheMLM-Solution.net. Please follow us on the following platforms: Facebook, YouTube, etc. And share this podcast with our fellow network marketers around the world by hitting the share button on our various platforms.